so much for coming here on a Saturday, and be ready for exploring this session with Srini sir. I know Srini sir for last many years, been around 4 decades in advertising, and he's like our mentor, guru, whatever we call it as. So every time, every Sunday, he very much get into it and see advice. This is the way you should do it, and a lot of disruption he made in our minds. That's how we thought of doing one session with him here. And thank you so much, sir, for
thank you
accepting our invitation.
It's a pleasure. It's always with you.
Tejaswini, yeah, please come here. Sir, again, take over.
I can. Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I think it's a little bit late. It's okay, we are running late. My name is Srinivasan. I'm currently with S&N Builders as CEO. Earlier, prior to this, you must be wondering how come all of a sudden from advertising, communication, marketing into real estate. One thing I always tell people is that if you're into any creative business, for them to manage companies, to manage institutions is made much more easier, because on a daily basis you come across from a really a wonderful client to a kind of a demon client as well, basically because I believe that creativity is all about expression of self, and there is nothing more better tool than telling the truth, actually. One of the success for me, both at Intermarkets when I started, later on with TBWA, and then on to S&N now, is we try to keep our brand message simple. We try to tell the truth to customers. So that has worked wonderfully well for us. Because if you are a creative person, generally your tenure is 10 years. Now, don't think that I'm trying to put you out by saying this. You do a wonderful job for 10 years, then you keep on repeating it. Repeating it in a very creative way, because for a creative person, every day when he comes into the office, be it architecture or fashion designer or maybe an advertising agency or a communication agency, you need to come in and then on a daily basis come up with a new idea. And your idea cannot be like yesterday's idea. So when you walk in, you need to be switched on, you need to be producing work that is that gets you the enough mileage as far as the brand is concerned, basically because the subject which Sri Kumar and Nofal has given to me is about branding. The moment you say branding, people think it's just a logo, stick a logo and then everything falls in place. Branding is not about logo. Say for example at S&N, when I sit with either Nofal or with our other creative agencies, generally we always talk about how holistically this particular brand, say for example, project, we are taking any one project. I've got a couple of examples as well, I'll show it to you guys. So how you can brand that to position and then link S&N along with that with our core values. So few of the core values, what we need to develop ourselves is, as I said, you need to tell the truth, number one. And number two is all about have that empathy and sympathy with home buyers. Because home buyers come to you, they pledge their life savings with you. So if you don't have that, it's impossible to convince them why they should buy at S&N, because basically when we started also, people never recognized us. Now we are a recognized brand, we are on top 5 and then hopefully in top 3. So I used to work in the Middle East for about 30 years. I was managing director and network director for TBWA. TBWA is world's 6th largest communication, advertising and marketing agency. Worked on some great brands like Nissan, Singapore Airlines, Apple, Standard Chartered Bank, Absolute Vodka. So we worked on brands which really stood out from the clutter actually. So those are some of the work I'm planning to share it with you. So I hope that by the end of the session there are some takeaways, and in case if any of you want to get in touch with me, please write to me on srini@snnbuilders.com. I'm positive that anything related to communication, advertising and marketing, wherever I can be of any help to you guys, I'll definitely try to pitch in and then try to help you guys. Let me start the presentation with, it has got a very long, I prepared it, that's what I was telling Nofil, basically because SNN consumes majority of my time, but since good gathering has come and then people have to have some kind of a knowledge takeaway, I had put about 100 plus slides, because basically when I prepare something, I prepare it as a master document, maybe because I take a lot of guest lectures and such sessions with others as well. So I have put in a very good presentation where we require to run a bit faster, we can do it. So then in between, if you don't agree with me on anything, please stop me, ask questions, or we can leave the Q&A at the end. Maybe if you all have any questions, you can definitely ask me. I'll try to clarify as much as possible. I'm going to play this video basically because as a creative person, whatever you do, whether you're watching a movie or you're seeing a billboard, or because you need to be aware of what's going on around you. So even from movies, you can take a lot of takeaways. This is one of the interesting clipping from Three Idiots, where they talk about brands and then how people are obsessed with brands. So this is a very... I'll play it. No problem.
म्यूजिक चेंज कर यार कुछ बदल लग रहा है भैया what the hell is this ये क्या पहना अरे 18th century watch क्या तो क्या बोले साहस के ध्यान से तो देखो डॉक्टर बनने वाली और 200 रुपए की घड़ी पहनती है इसलिए थैंक यू हाय handsome hey auntie looking good don't miss my set darling rubies Mandalay se Mandalay wow hey let's go meet David chapter of course उस गधे से कभी शादी मत करिए। Excuse me. एवं उसकी जूते कितने के पता है? Just one. Oh my God! Hey! क्या बात? $300 के shoes हैं? मुझे लेके चटनी और $300 shoes. भाभी, free device लेना तो नहीं तो जाना. Genuine Italian leather pants, bitch.
ऐसी expensive पीस की मुझे आदत नहीं है सुहास।
आदत डाल दो भैया। You're gonna be Suhas Tandon's wife. Where's the bill, man?
I'll be back. क्यों मेरे डैड के पीछे पड़े हो हाँ?
क्योंकि वो कॉलेज एक फैक्ट्री चला रहा है, जिसमें हर साल गधे मैन्युफैक्चर होते हैं। वो देखो वो तुम्हारा गधा।
अब गई कॉलेज में गधा।
तो और क्या बोलूं?
तुम समझते क्या हो अपने आप?
ओह नहीं खरीदी। एक करना। तुमको क्या हमारा डेमो दिखाना पड़ता है। Hey Suhas. Kant, I've been looking for you. घड़ी गुम गई उसकी यार, ढूंढ रही बेचारी। What? You lost the watch? अरे कोई नहीं यार, maybe I don't know। अरे 4 लाख की थी। 4 लाख? मुझे तो 250 की है, लेकिन ढाई को पता नहीं। Shut up. How could you be so careless, Mia? This callous attitude is disgusting. It's disrespect. But that was a limited edition watch you just lost. Freeway में नहीं तो बस, अब डिनर पे पहनना वो तुम्हारी 18th century की घड़ी। क्या घूर रहे हो? हाँ, no, अब रोना शुरू। हाँ, real mature, Mia. I can't handle this. अब रोना बंद करो और भूल दो।
Okay. The interesting part is that wherever on a daily basis we get in touch with the brands and the branding. So let me start the presentation. Basically, I want to, on the left is Mr. Ramzi Rand, who is a walking encyclopedia of advertising, marketing and branding in the Middle East. Ramzi was my boss for nearly about, say, 25 years. He was the boss except for a 5-year period where I left Intermarkets and joined with Faisal Islamic Bank. The person has lived as an example of how people can come up in life. When Ramzi was 65, Intermarkets board decided to throw him out, and then he started TBW at the age of 66, and today he is retired, settled very well in Beirut in terms of whatever he needs to do. He keeps taking all these kind of seminars and workshops. Maybe one day I'll definitely call him to come over here. And my passion is cricket. I used to play a lot of cricket. I'm one of the person who have faced Imran Khan when he came to Bahrain, and along I opened with Ravi Shastri. I always felt that most of the guys, whoever have played some kind of sports in their activity, always it makes them a better personality. Okay, this is Neil McElroy, whose famous memo of 1930, which changed the face of P&G actually. McElroy was key. He developed in the 1930s, he developed 3 key main points which needs to work for a brand in terms of how the branding and the brand extension has to happen. And that became the famous thing, and it's being followed around the world, and even now it's being followed extensively. McElroy's famous 3-page company memo on principles of modern brand management. McElroy argued that companies should assign a separate branding division. It doesn't matter that you have brand extensions of, say, 10 brands like somebody like P&G. You can't have a single centralized brand management team. You need to have extension of different brand management, and they need to handle that with care. And these are some of the details of this guy, who was even Defense Secretary of Eisenhower as well. A brand is more than just a logo, it's an experience. Why is McDonald's so popular in the world? Why do we pay so much for a coffee in CCD or in Starbucks? Truth is, customer does not actually pay for the cheeseburger or the cafe latte. He pays for the brand experience. So every brand, be it airline to fast food, unless and until we make that happen, it never happens. Even within my own company, S&M, we have a certain treatment of how a brand should be managed, how a customer should be managed, and we do that really well in terms of how we want to do it. In present times, branding decides the future of franchise. This is true across all industries, from Apple to Nike to Pizza Hut to Cola. So whatever industry you are in, you need to position your brand, and every brand has to have some kind of brand guideline book. Even if you are a smaller one, I will leave it maybe during the coffee session, you can have a look at it. This we developed at TBW when I was the managing director for brand Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi wanted to portray themselves and then compete with Dubai in terms of how it's not possible. But unless and until you make an attempt to do it, it never happens. And there are a couple of other brand books which I've left over here. One is definitely SIA Bible, because I worked on SIA account. I will just take you through during the presentation itself. It's one of the best brands I've ever seen, basically because they portray to the whole world Singapore Airlines, a great way to fly through their air hostess actually. Every other brand talks about the product and in-flight services. Product and in-flight entertainment. But as far as SIA is concerned, they portray to the whole world that the hostess who takes care of you right through the journey or the best brand ambassador for you. And they did it very well with their kabaya outfit. With whatever they did it really brilliant. Definition of brand: a brand is most valuable piece of real estate. Brands were around long before the modern concept of branding has come. As I said earlier, it's not branding means it's not just about sticking a logo and then extending that into various touch points and say that the branding issue is taken care. Every step when you do that, right from your office ambience to the advertising to the marketing techniques, whatever you are going to adapt, everywhere the brand has to be linked in such a way that it's taken really forward. And our obsession with slogans bringing the whole branding debate and the value of branding into disrepute, basically because right from hospitals to everybody has got a slogan now. You need to be. That's what one of the key aspect of Steve Jobs is, though he had a slogan called "Think Different," but the thing is he's not obsessed with that, but obsessed with the product development. He used to get involved basically because we worked on Apple. We knew how Steve Jobs behaved. Either you shape up and then work to his requirements, or you are out of the business actually. So TBWA is one agency. TBWA, they worked on Apple for nearly about, say, entire period Steve was alive actually. In between when Steve left from Apple to Nexon, that's the only period TBWA was not working. Otherwise, TBWA was consistently working on Apple brand. So in our brand-led, the slogan-saturated world, what is the key attribute that the great brand should have? Core, the main thing, as I said, is the trust level. The trust level will come unless and until you tell the truth, and then make the end users, the buyers, the consumers much more comfortable. Followed by target audience knowledge, uniqueness, passion, consistency, competitiveness, and exposure. So marketing plays a role. Marketing has to be intertwined with however we do it. This is where I always give that the best branding happens as far as in this world is concerned, the religious institutions. If you go to see church or a Hindu temple or even a mosque in Saudi Arabia, they have got the best of architecture. They have got the best of architecture. They have the best of logo. If you go to see a church, the logo is very simple. It's just a cross. People recognize that, and they are in the best location. So we take from that, and I don't know about churches here. At least churches in Europe, what I have seen is they got the best proceeding. The branding is done by Michelangelo and the likes of them. So you need to take care, and then every touch point is taken care again. So we need to do that as a brand custodian. Suppose you are running a fashion design thing, you need to be the custodian. Like at SNN, I take care of everything. Communication doesn't move out of my purview. I give it to people to function, but the initial conceptualization of whatever the branding aspect needs to get into the touch points has to be supervised by the person running. It's not micromanaging. There is a huge difference between micromanaging what you are doing and getting involved in what you need to do, and the communication is the most important thing and the branding is the most important thing for you guys. Brand management, brand is an asset. Singapore airline is a classic example. Brand vision, you have Nike. Subcategory competition, Neil's theory of Fevicol. So I have seen this Indian brand Fevicol. I'm a big fan of Piyush Pandey. I recently read his book also, Pandemonium it's called. And it's a wonderful book. Maybe you also should buy Piyush's experience within O&M, how he made brands work. One of the brands he talks about is, he used to call Fevicol as a Lala brand. And Fevicol became one of the most powerful things basically because every brand extension of Fevicol, I have three interesting, you might have seen it, most of you might have seen it, three interesting TV spots which were produced by Piyush Pandey. And brand differentiation, Apple is one of the best examples as far as brand differentiation is concerned. They came up with Mac in 1984, then moved on to various subcategory of products, iPod and iPad and then iPhone. So everything fell in place for Steve Jobs and they became one of the biggest brands as far as differentiation is concerned. And customer sweet spots, all major brands have got this one. Any brand right from Nike to Absolute to everybody you take, everybody has got this sweet spots as far as their brands are concerned. Brand management and marketing earlier was treated as synonyms, and brand management historically focused identity management. As I said earlier, not by just developing a logo you have achieved your branding. The brand extension has to happen in all the possible touch points so that you penetrate into the target audience and see to it that you reasonably capture the market share which you want to earn. Any startups for that matter, initially they will struggle. Over a period of time, when you manage the brand well, when you manage your customer base well, you can definitely achieve it. Brands have become more conscious to treat their brand as an asset. Every brand has become more conscious to treat their brand as an asset. It's no more that run a television spot or a print ad, or today I saw in Times of India that readership has I think gone up to 15-16 million around India, and they have become the #1 newspaper in time. It took a lot of time, basically, because classic example is when Times launched into Chennai, they had serious issues in terms of how to capture into Hindus, because Chennai predominantly is a very conservative market, and then Hindu was ruling really high. They launched Times of India in such a way, the newspaper took off really well, and then I think they are almost on par with Hindu nowadays as far as circulation and readership is concerned. Most common colors. These are some of the slides which I'm going to tell you that how identity is developed in terms of color palettes, and we call it in advertising terminology sonic or audio branding. I've got just one example of Coca-Cola, how they developed their sonic branding is concerned. So 33% of the whole branding aspect is covered in blue, then followed by red, then silver and grey and yellow. So if you want to differentiate within this, you need to come up with something really unique. And if your identity has to have a minimum of at least only 2 colors, if you have more than that, it always becomes really difficult for agencies to work with it, because they need to CMKY, they'll have to match it, and then finding it difficult to work with. Sonic branding, as I said, I'll just play this one.
The making of Taste the Feeling melody.
Can come there.
Although our previous audio signature was very successful, able to drive worldwide hits and carry the global Open Happiness campaign since 2009, it did not allow either the tagline or the brand name to be sung in a natural way. For this reason, the Taste the Feeling audio signature was created to carry the new campaign forward and drive awareness for the new tagline by making it single. Where does the new Coca-Cola audio signature come from? The answer is simple. It all comes from this little bottle and the drink inside. An ice-cold Coca-Cola has been and always will be a multi-sensory experience. In fact, Coca-Cola has an entire soundscape of sounds. When we hear one sound world transitioning into the other, from thirst into refreshment, it tells a story through sound. This concept translates directly into Coca-Cola's new audio signature. An intrinsic soundscape tells the story of the product and evokes a visceral connection. The tagline itself is singable and fits like a glove into the soundscape. Combining these elements together, the product itself now communicates the new campaign promise and message of Taste the Feeling. Intrinsic sounds play a key role in the new audio signature, designed to evoke the meaning of our tagline in a way that fits like a glove around the vulnerable, powerful new brand asset that Taste the Feeling melody. Intrinsic sounds plus iconic melody plus sung tagline. This is the new Taste the Feeling audio signature for Coca-Cola. Taste the feeling.
Generally, the brand pyramid, next few slides I'll just take you quickly through, and if any of you want to have few of the slides, maybe I can share it with Nofal, you can take it from him as well. Brand promise, brand personality, benefits, competitive situation, audience, and brand attributes. Generally classified into these things because whenever you are sitting with a client or a startup or a new company, want to take a branding brief, I think these are the areas you should cover and then ask very pertinent questions, because unless and until you are clear about what you want to do, it's always pretty difficult if you want to provide them with that brand identity in terms of whatever, because so much of information is available in Google these days, you can get everything. But the thing is, the research process, we teach that at TVWA when I was MD. Once in a year, we definitely meet somewhere either in South Africa or in LA. And we used to undergo a rigorous training of how leaders should do the search process, because so much information is available. So you need to have the choice of words, the choice of things. You definitely get most of the information from there. And as far as branding is concerned, I recommend that all of you buy a series of 3 books available, written by TVWA Worldwide President Jean-Marie Drew. There are 3 sets of books which is really nice, and then maybe you should buy and then have a look at it. Disruption, I have covered a couple of slides on disruption also, because at TVWA we believe heavily in disruption, because there is no point in doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results to happen. It will never happen. So these are the branding personalities. So let me go through the brand promises example. Nike, athletic performance, just do it. And Nike was started about 50 years back, I think so, by Phil Knight and Bowerman. And they started with $1,000 as their capital, and then used to import shoes from Japan and then get it done over there. Over a period of time, they understood that that's not working and started within US, and now they are billion-dollar company now, few $1 billion, whatever it is. Apple, up-to-date technology, think different. As I said, that all the product ranges definitely put the technology on top of everything. And Mercedes, best that life has to offer, the best or nothing. That's the slogan for Mercedes, and they live up to their reputation by coming up with cars that exceeds others, in terms of performance and in terms of style and look. And Singapore Airlines, I say total peace of mind, a great way to fly. One brand which has really promoted itself into the global airline. Even today, SIA is rated to be the #1 airline, followed by maybe Emirates and the rest others. And basically because the branding took really very nicely. So some of the examples of what the brand personality is, when you talk about a brand personality, it's briefly about 5 categories you can fit into any brand actually. Ruggedness, sophistication, competence, excitement, and sincerity. These are the 5. In case if you can add up in your briefing meeting with the client, you can add up always extension to all these things and see where the brand fits in over there. Very important. I have given some of the examples that fits into all these categories as well. We worked on brand Absolute. I've even brought a bottle. I think all of you would have seen it definitely. This is how it is when they came up with Absolute as far as branding is concerned. Initial focus group feedback is that the handle is, the neck is too short, people may not be able to, the barman may not be able to pour. All those things were taken into consideration when we developed the brand. And then this was done by TVWA, it's a Swedish brand this is. And then all these things I've done, and then we have come up with a kind of a core competency of what this Absolute means for. So they have come up with a bottle which, of course, nowadays you find similar bottles available in terms of even Lebanese Arak and a couple of other brands also. But these are the people who came up with a clear branding within the product itself. So that stood out. It became like a fashion brand, priced at a premium, was selling better than even the Russian vodkas. So these are the things. I'll just play this video for some time. Just have a look at it. So as I said, as far as the product is concerned, we need to come up with what we need to do, and plus the agency, whoever is in charge of branding, they need to take a proper briefing in terms of, unless and until we ask questions, relevant questions, it's difficult for you to understand what the brand personality is going to be or where you're going to place the brand. And then once you have done that very well, then the rest of the things falls in place. Branding benefits, customer recognition, customer loyalty, credibility, all these things are definitely put into thing as far as the brand is concerned. Once a brand establishes itself, basically the customer recognition and customer loyalty, which should be on top of the tier actually. Basically, you need to get that first, and that you can achieve it unless and until you tell 100% truth and then you be transparent with the customers. Otherwise, it will not happen. Brand attributes, it should be friendly, approachable, supportive, and innovative. Even we keep doing that. When I was in TBWA, we used to have one day in a week, customer can choose. Generally, we decided that on a Thursday, we meet all our clients. They can walk into the agency at any given time, and then they can meet anybody in the agency, add their opinion in terms of how the functions are happening. If there are shortcomings, you need to take that really, don't take it as a criticism and react. I think it's much better that take it as a positive criticism and then take the corrective measures and keep moving on actually. I think I encourage that even you guys should do it. Just if you can't do it weekly once, at TBWA we used to do it weekly once, but here I think at least monthly once you can have definitely. Call all your clients maybe at different timing, they can walk in, talk to the account management team, talk to the creative guys. In terms of any shortfall is there, you can definitely get it corrected, because that takes the brand from whatever level it is to the level what we want to do actually. Because Local works on SNN's website, and I'm happy to say that we are very happy the way things are happening. Dil mange more, you give me 2, I want 4, so there is never an end to that. But as far as the complaints and the negativity is negated, then I think the brand falls in place and reasonably we do very well. And supportive and innovative, that's where disruption works really well. Because if you keep on doing the same thing again and again, you will never reach anywhere. You need to be disruptive and you need to be progressive in terms of whatever you want to do. Branding in digital age. Next few slides will talk about how branding functions in this age of digital transformation that has taken place. So becoming more a challenge as far as how you want to position your brand, because most of it happens with right from positive to negative, because anything and everything is now a Google group or a WhatsApp group, everything is formed, and then they literally analyze and threadbare dissect your brand and say most of the time it's negatives, but you need to address that. Even in SNN, we have a couple of groups which talk pretty bad about us, but what I do is that I keep watching, because we have a digital team which is working on. The instructions to them is any negative comment, please connect me to them. So I call them to the office, I listen to them. I listen to them and take course correction. If we have really done something wrong, we take, as a brand, we are responsible for that. We take course correction action, and then we move on. Customer goes back and then he removes that, and then he writes very good reviews about us. So that's the only way. If you go to see SNN's reviews, there are bad reviews with us, but I think we need to, as a custodian of the brand, me and Nitin Agarwal is my boss, who gets involved practically as far as the branding is concerned. We both run the entire show. Internet users, I just saw this when I was really amazed to see that in China there are 800 plus million people are using internet on a regular basis. In India it's about 480 million. This figure was 2018. Maybe this would have gone up further because now elections are around the corner, so things are picking up as far as India is concerned. Number of online shoppers to surpass 120 million in 2018. This is again a figure given by one of the website thing. And e-tailing has become, everybody knows, right from clothing to electronic to anything you say, e-tailing has become the most, even we get a couple of conversions through the online portals like the 99 Acres, Magic Bricks and others. They contribute heavily to our bottom line. digital versus traditional marketing. Basically, last month I think so, Times of India visited our office and said that because most of the people have got this feeling of print is going to die as far as the traditional media is concerned. Outdoor has already been taken away, basically government policies of really the eyesore situation, what is happening in Bangalore. But I still feel that print is a medium which will never die. It will be there, maybe. I still remember when we launched the Serenity project in 2010, November 2010, the half-page ad in the front page produced 900 calls for us. Today, even a full-page ad of mine as a cover rap also doesn't produce more than 100 calls. It doesn't mean that people don't see your brand. They see your brand, it is already registered by whatever touch points you are doing, basically because digital has transformed into a bigger thing. So both traditional media and digital media is all about impressions, basically because that it gets impressed into people's mind, and then they register the brand. Whenever a purchase decision they want to do it, they definitely do it over a period of time. Maybe people who had visited or first seen our ad comes back to us and then even book after 6 months. So conversions always is very difficult, but once they feel that this is the brand I should go through, I think generally that loyalty is maintained, and through word of mouth, through referral business, our business always doubles. So traditional media, print, outdoor, TV and radio, how many have seen your ad? This is what generally you can calculate, maybe depending on the circulation and the readership figure. Generally it's about 2 to 3 readership figure. It depends on that. And digital media is all about emailers, banners, web search and everything. So put together, they used to do that. What happens now is the social media. This is taking the world by storm actually, basically encouraging self-expression, because in social media, it's not about impression, it is about expression. It is from traditional digital media impressions to social media expression. Basically, groups are being formed, there is a lot of WhatsApp group, there is a lot of Google group, everything is happening. Your brand is being discussed very widely, whether it's positives, negatives. So the negatives need to be turned into positives. That is with the brand custodian. Whoever is the company, say for example, as far as Honeycomb is concerned, you can't leave, Nofl cannot leave this to happen to your website in charge or anybody. Nofl has to be the brand ambassador for us, Honeycomb. As I always say, as far as SNN is concerned, it's just me and Nitin. We are the people who are in the face of customers. If anything goes wrong, that's what Nitin used to always joke. Even if there is a small problem within their house, they normally write to me or Nitin, but you should not take that as a stress or a pressure for you. You need to handle that. So automatically, whatever emails are being created for SNN, I have 2 mail IDs, for example. Srini at SNN Builders, most of them know it. They address it to me. And there is another mail ID specifically created for my homeowners, which is ceo@snnbuilders.com. So on a daily basis, the digital team has to review and the response has to go from me. I'll have to tell them what they should write and respond. Maybe I need to spend an hour on that. But it's worth spending basically because your brand gets that kind of a feeling that, yeah, I'm giving 1 crore of rupees to these guys, but I am in touch with the topmost man in the company, which is missing as far as the real estate fraternity is concerned. Definition expressions are now brand reactions that are shared with others. So you take, for example, Facebook or Twitter or anything, me writing about, be it my new Nike, or I'm sharing it, how I did in my 10K or 20K, whatever it is, me talking about a brand introduction, a new brand has come, new launches have come, so people write about that, I have booked over there, I have purchased this. So it has become more of an expression in terms of their brand experience. I go back to my slide 1 only, because slide 1 I said, brand is all about brand experience. The brand experience is given the way the customer wants it. The brand is destined to only grow. You will never fail as far as the brand recognition is concerned. So Facebook, Google AdWords, blogs, campaign by all brands, I think the way it is being done currently as far as digital marketing is concerned, when I walked into here, Nofil came up with a very good idea. He said, sir, on a regular basis, I think you should talk about talk in webinar, right? That's what he said. So that's a good idea. Maybe as we progress, we keep on improvising what we need to do as far as the brand is concerned. So that again, as I said, the custody should be with you. You have to take the ownership of the brand and then get it done. Yes, definitely agencies like Nofil will come up, but the way I think about it, the way I want the brand to perform, it is up to me to tell Nofil. Yeah, I take ideas from Nofil in terms of how I want to portray the brand to my target audience and target group, but it's up to me. Onus is with me actually. Unless and until that is taken care. I met Narayan Murthy in Kuwait. We had a workshop over there. I met him. One interesting point he mentioned to me. I am the founder and I am the kind of a face of the world as far as emphasis is concerned. My office door is never closed. Anybody can walk in, not only my clients, even within the office, if somebody at a lower level want to discuss with me something, this is again, it's not micromanaging. It's understanding the brand. Maybe the guy who's handling one particular client in US, he said this, has got some perennial problem which his boss is not able to resolve it. So his boss should not take it as a negativity in terms of why did you bypass me and go. No, it's all about brand. All of us should contribute. If Nofil wants to grow his business, it's not just Nofil's business to get or Sadiq's business to do it. Everybody within the company should contribute whatever they need to do it. And there has to be one pilot person who has to manage everything. The brand definitely progresses. When I joined in 2010 with SNN, we never had divisions also. We never had CRM, we never had legal. Nitin was doing everything. So one day I made a presentation to Nitin, this will not function like this. When I joined SNN, I thought I will not last more than 6 months in that company. Basically, it's another Lala company. It is basically family company. It is. Now if you come and walk into SNN, it's completely different. It is. So it's up to me to change the fate of any brand, whatever I work as CEO. This again is 67% of purchase decisions primarily influenced by word of mouth, according to McKinsey. And today people talk back at brands. As I said, you can talk back to brands. Yeah, I don't need to get scared. If something I do wrong, I'm being literally, sorry for my language, I'm being literally pulled up in the social media. But I need to take charge of that, because some of the people who are in the WhatsApp group or in the Google group call me and tell me, Srini, this is what is going on. I think you need to act on it. Classic example I'll give you is when we gave Greenway project in Electronic City to people, they had a big issue with water. Water was not very good, and then treatment plant has to be put. They discussed so much, these guys have cheated us, they have done this, they have done that. So I went to my board and I told them that this is happening. Luckily, I have a wonderful managing director, Ramesh Agarwal, who is for buyers, home buyers. So even if you have to incur a little bit more expenditure. My technical team said it's not possible. I did again some research. I said you can do it at source. And we did it at source at our own cost of 52 lakhs. So all the negatives were turned away, and then today referral business has picked up. So it's up to the person who handles with the brand, need to take charge and do things. Rebranding exercise, most of the companies, what they do is over a period of time, they want to get more attention, they want to get more market share, because they feel that the logo or the identity, I don't call it as logo, I call it as a brand identity. Brand identity has lost its sheen actually. So you need to be careful in how you want to do it. At TWA we have a division called Tequila, which handles direct marketing as well as, and we have a separate division for identity development also. So when we do that, the art director and the guy who works with him, they do a heavy research in terms of how rebranding has to happen. You cannot transform the entire identity of the company into a complete new look and feel. You need to maintain the color palette as much as possible. You need to maintain the look and feel as much as possible closer to that. Maybe you can tweak it a little bit, so give it a new, fresh look. So I'm just showing you some of the brands which have done rebranding. Say for example, Apple has, when they introduced, it was 1976 first. It was, I think Newton sitting under an apple tree or something like that. They came up with a logo. Then it transformed into the current level of logos actually. But if you go to see, except for the color palette, starting from here, they have almost maintained that silver and whitish kind of look, and then that they still maintain it. Same case with Pepsi. It was started like this, and then Pepsi ended up what it is today. But the entire thing, if you go to see, they maintain this over a period of time, the cap effect, which is being maintained right through, and then what it is today is also the same kind of a look. So when you need to do it, you do it a little bit care. Even if the client says, I want completely a new look and feel, I think as an agency, you guys are responsible in terms of how you want to portray the brand, and then you need to, that's what I said, you have to have a belief in yourself. The work you're doing, the style of work, the way you present yourself is much more important. Ford did the same thing when they came up with 1903, and you see in 2003 how the brand has evolved. I think currently even they maintain the last one, 2003. Next, Volkswagen, the same thing. And then these are some of the Indian brands which I took it for thing. Godrej has changed just the color palette. The look and feel is more or less same. The only brand which they transformed is Airtel from here to here. But again, Videocon and Vodafone had something similar. Maybe the agency felt that for telecom management company, this is how they should do it. Hero Honda, again, they maintained that hedge, but still the font and everything more or less kept the same. When I joined SNN in 2007, I joined SNN, and I went to these guys only as a customer. I bought their Lakeview project in BTM, and I ended up being now CEO basically because the ad people generally they give some ideas even if they are not being paid because the passion is always there. And I gave few ideas to Nitin when Lakeview was there, and then all of a sudden one day I get a call sometime in August. I met Nitin in I think February 2009 I met him. And August 2009 I get a call saying that board wants to meet you. So I went and met casually. I never had intentions to work. I worked in Middle East for 30 years. But went and met them, then the rest is history. So I joined them initially as consultant. Now one day, 2011, they decided to make me complete in charge of the office. We have done really well in terms of whatever we need to do. So this was the identity which was there. We used to call the company SN Builders and Developers. Then in 2007, Nitin joined, and I became part of SNN in 2009, and we rebranded to. This is how we rebranded. So when we rebranded this, we had certain issues with this N being joined with the N. And when we put it up in some of the branding touch points, people said it looks like Sun Builders. So they were not able to. So again in 2012-13, I think we rebranded it, which is separating the N and N. Very subtly we made the difference. We kept the color combination except when it was SN Builders and Developers. They had the yellow. Yellow is always a little bit difficult as far as reproduction is concerned. So we moved on to orange. Orange is full of energy. So we changed the entire rebranding, and then this is the current rebranding. And we have a separate one as far as building top signage and everything, which is like this. Basically, the slanted italics was difficult, not showing the proper way. So we took a much more bolder approach, straight fonts, which is italics but straight fonts also it is. So these are visibility on building top. We used to do this. And this is an interesting case study. Maybe all of you have to do a research on this guy. Forbes pegged this company's net worth is 2.5 billion, nearly 16,000 crores, and they are ranked number 48. Any guesses? It's an Indian company. Any of you can guess? Okay. No. So I was fascinated always by Baba Ramdev with Kapalbhati and Nauli Kriya. If somebody could create a brand of 16,000 crores, I think nothing is impossible. Yeah, the way he had a lot of passion while doing that. He, of course, the other gentleman, Balakrishna, he played a major role because he is a qualified naturopathy guy. So he joined with Ramdev, and they are into from anything to anything, you say. And some of the brands are really doing well, and the brand extensions are brilliant again. It's not, most of the branding, if you go to see, is done by Ramdev only. He comes in the television spots, he speaks about Patanjali. So this brand has given run for its money even for people like Unilever. A company to be rated 48th ranked and 16,000 crore of turnover is not an easy thing. And two others, off late, I'm not a political guy. Don't think I'm supporting Modi. I'm not sourcing any voting, anything. But as a brand, if you take this person, I was really fascinated. When he gets onto the podium and speak, whether in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala or up north somewhere or in Assam, guy knows his subject very well. He can present himself well. I was actually flabbergasted basically because Tamilians' names are very difficult to pronounce and say also. And he got into Kanjivaram podium and he just listed out the people who are in their AIDMK alliance, about 7-8 of them, one after the other without even referring to any script. Even in the recent one which created a lot of furore in social media also, his interview with Akshay Kumar, he clearly says, I don't prepare anything, I don't keep any script. I straight away, they'll have to tell me about it and then I grasp it and then I decide what's the flow of language. And he has done fairly good. Same case with Mahendra Singh Dhoni. You take for example, yesterday he didn't play and then CSK lost pretty badly. So he has created a brand for himself. If anything is, Virat Kohli is more talented than Mahendra Singh Dhoni. But Dhoni is a brand on his own. When he started, he was a very ordinary person. But again, he portrayed himself that leadership qualities are different and found himself to be in that. These are some of the worldwide guys who has changed the fortunes of the brand. As I said, Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman. Of course, Apple, you all know. Virgin, this guy is amazing, guys. Virgin founder, Richard Branson. The way he handles the brand, again, a classic example of brand custodian, the owner himself. He goes for all the launches. He decides how the launches has to be. Either he will drop in from a helicopter or he will wear a hostess dress. Everything is disruptive. Completely disruption. Disruption to the core is definitely Virgin, including, I have got a video which is going to play his in-flight announcement. Okay, it's the traditional one is fix it for you, fix it for that, the oxygen mask will come down, don't speak on. Everything is very nicely given in a pop culture kind of situation. And McDonald's, everyone knows, and as I said, Mr. Parekh from Fevicol. That's one brand which has amazed me actually. I have some 3 interesting commercials to follow. Virgin Apple, please, next, play the video, please.
I got some things that you gotta know, and trust me, it's something that you wanna hear. So when you dip your in and in your show, people be moving to the traffic, yeah. So won't you do it, so you see, right, so tight, and keep your There's a light that shines clouds. It's the longest since your armrest. Remove the couch, tear it open, place it over your head. Are we coming in clear? Did you hear what we said? But all the white shirts and Nike like around your waist. Look off the blade, pull the handle, and your pistol is free. If you're best, don't feel funny, no big deal. Blow into the first two, and you gotta reveal. There's a point, look in your eye. It's rough on your shoulders, and you put your attention. That's where our round is over.
Just in case we don't evacuate, we got a plan of attack. We got a plan of attack. Oh, new exits on the airplane. People exit for two in the front and two in the back. Wow, and the unlikely event, we need to get you on that. Your exit is equipped with an inflatable flight. Only no time can live, that's the patient in life. If you need to find the exit, you can follow the light.
They're at the base of the beast, they know the way to rest. Keep in mind the nearest exit may not be ahead.
Keep in mind you, the lyrics that might be behind you. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's important for all you smokers out there. It's never allowed here, so don't you forget.
Don't forget it.
Federal law prohibits tampering, destroying, disabling smoke detectors, so don't touch that cigarette. Don't you do it.
All right, it's time for final cabin check. Make sure all carry-on bags are stowed away, tray tables and seats are in their upright and locked positions, and all electronic devices are completely shut off.
For additional safety information, check out the safety card located in the seat pocket in front of you. Please read and review before we take off. FAA regulations require that all guests comply with the lighted information signs, posted placards, and instruction of the in-flight team.
If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Now enjoy your flight, and as always, thank you for flying Virgin America. So tonight, I'm ready to fly.
See, the interesting part, if you all have noticed in this entire branding process of how the in-flight safety instructions, they are used only three colors. You see the subtle silver, the subtle white, and the red, which stands out completely really well as far as the whole production is concerned. Made it a little bit peppy basically because it's a UK-based company and most of the business comes from transatlantic. So that kind of a target audience really like. Maybe play the same thing, because Virgin, I think, they don't operate in India, I think so. So it works on different market, works different kind of set of target audience. They would have done their research well, and then they came up with this wonderful video. Everybody knows, how many of you have seen all Apple ads? You have seen it, right? Their 1984 ad is one of the landmark ad that was produced that ran only once. And Steve Jobs was given the mandate to produce that. It was done through TBWA Shire Day. And Lee Clow, who was TBWA's worldwide creative director, produced the entire ad and they presented to Steve. Steve just loved it. And production budget of $750,000 in 1984. So the budget was approved. Lee produced that. It was given to Steve Jobs. And played in the boardroom. After the commercial was 60 seconds was played and the lights came on, the board of directors felt it's all completely a crap and let's drop it. And TBWA has already purchased 2 spots, which is a 60-second and a 30-seconder. They were asked to sell both of it, but Lee still had hopes that Steve will come up with something brilliant and it happened that way. Steve said, okay, 50% of the spot cost, me and Wozniak will play, at least you guys give me the 50%. Luckily for him, it didn't happen. Board approved it, and finally it went on only once. And even that spot alone cost about $800,000. It was played only once in Super Bowl. I'm not playing that. I'm playing after Steve Jobs joined in 97 or 2000, I think. So he joined back in from Nexus back to Apple. This is the one he came up with. Think different. I think some of you must have seen it. Please. Branding, how it is.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
The best part in this entire sport is they don't show the product. There is nobody working on Apple, and it's completely different. It is, and the way it is being presented, this is how Apple communication is. This is how Apple branding is being done. Of course, what they did is the next one. They extended this to all the other touch points. They took all the characters who were there in that Think Different, and then placed it all over US in terms of, and the sales really shot up as far as Apple is concerned. And what they did in 1984 is also something similar to this. And the big brother talking on the screen, and when he says we shall prevail, the lady with the hammer throws the hammer over there, and a simple 4-line voiceover comes and says, on January 24th, Apple was launched Macintosh, and you will see why 1984 won't be like 1984. That's about it. And they never showed any product, they never did anything. So these are some of the things. That's why this brand is completely, they take the world by storm. Basically, all their communication is totally different. They came up with all these things in a different way. That's how the brand management has to happen. Again, Steve Jobs used to get involved in the entire process of brand management. That's where my request to all of you is, whoever is in charge, they should take charge. They should say, I will sit with the agency, I'll spend time. It is okay for me. Even now, last time when Noful came to the office, I sat with Bhupalan in one of my office. We had gone through, then I gave them the kind of a guideline, how it should be presented as far as website is concerned. Then they have to come up, because basically they are the specialists. Bhupalan is the specialist, so he should come up with alternate solutions how we want to present ourselves. Next is also the let it finish, I'll tell all the three later. It's also a super one. Branding visa which should be done.
अरे ये बाबा बाबा ये क्या है बाबा बाबा इतना तो टैक्सी में आने जाने का भाड़ा लग जाता है बाबा हाँ बात कर रही बाबा मैंने किसी के पास ये गलत बात है नहीं हाँ कह रहे हाँ जो बाबा बड़ा जो बड़ा ए बाबा हाँ भाई दवाई दे देना
सिर्फ एक टपकती बूंद आपकी किस्मत बदल सकती है। घर में रखिए MC हमेशा।
So, if you go to see, of course, the first one is same product. Even now, I think Amitabh Bachchan is coming into one of the PD line. So, they have the way of presenting how it is. Sophistication is required as far as the US and the European markets are concerned. India, it's most of it, if you see, there is a fun element, there is a humor element which is always attached if you want to project your branding. So, this is the classic example. Okay, we have seen some of the very interesting brand extension, how it functions, from the parent company, which has got the same kind of level of communicating their message, key messages, in a more path-breaking kind of way to present so that the brand gets registered onto the minds of the end users. So next I'm going to present to you one thing, which is KLM. KLM, this I call it as ambient advertising, ambient branding. Let's put it that way, since the subject is branding, I don't want to call it as advertising, because advertising is too cheap a name as far as I'm concerned. So you need to be a media arts, I call it as media arts. So however you want to represent your visuals along, complement that with copy and the headlines, the team has to work out very well. It's not that I sit alone and then think up something, draw something, give it to a copywriter, okay, fit in some copy. No, it never works like that. It has to be always a team. At TVWA, we used to have an art and a copy team for every other account. That means two guys have to jointly think of ideas that can come well. So the art guy will source the image sitting with the copy guy, so that by the time when he does the research itself, he has made up his mind how the headline should fix in, how the sub-headline, how the copy points should come, how the bullet points should, how the call to action should come. In most branding thing, if you go to see, you need to have certain things fixed as far as your brand is concerned. Positioning of your identity, positioning of your call to action, and if any other information is there on the left-hand side. Invariably, these two things should be. That means when a consumer or an end user come into contact with any of your communication, they should know that, okay, if it's SNN ad, definitely the call to action is down at the bottom and logo at the right hand side. So they relate to the brand really well. That's what I just asked him also just now. When you think of Nike, it's not the Nike shoes that comes to your mind, that swoosh comes to your mind actually. You think about that, just do it swoosh. That's how the brand is established over a period of time. So rebranding anything, Nike had the same kind of a look and feel right from the day it was established by a university student for $35. The logo what we are seeing for Nike was established years back when it was started, I think 74 or 72, I don't remember the year. It was established by a college intern when Phil Knight went to the college and said, requested, please come up with a logo. He paid $35 for that, and that has done wonders for as far as the brand is concerned. So you need to have that. KLM is one of the things which always kind of disrupt the category, how it functions. They have sniffer dogs at the airport in case any lost baggage is there. They used to send them picture. And this particular one, they did it when they increased that legroom pitch by 10 centimeters. They wanted to portray to the world how brand KLM takes care of you in terms of economy class passengers. Please. Look at that video. Basically, just stop. Yeah, thank you. Basically, what happens is they have created it in such a way, the entire chair shape, because they are trying to tell them the leg room, and as far as the back is concerned, you can rest your back at least by twice the size of what economy class generally allows. So the message was conveyed very nicely, and it grabbed a lot of eyeballs in terms of airport is concerned, because they're Manchester to KLM, the Schiphol airport, that's falling. So they felt that we need to do something, and they came up with this idea, which is a brilliant ambient advertising. You can't get branding, ambient branding. And the airline took off. KLM is known very well as far as Europe is concerned. They have wonderful connections. So they came up with this, and apparently there's sales in terms of turnover from Manchester to the Schiphol increased by volumes of business has gone up. Next, please. My journey so far in branding and marketing, I'll just give you some experience of how I worked on some of the brands. Please. Worked on some of the world's best brands, SEB, Standard Chartered Bank, and I worked on some of the brilliant watch brands also. I was voted as the Middle East PR person for Patek Philippe for 4 consecutive years. I worked for most of the Richemont Group watches like the Cartiers, the Piaget, the Vacheron, all those brands I worked on that. And I worked on Nissan, I worked on Apple, and I'm one of the few fortunate ones to have met Steve Jobs when we had our TBWA Worldwide Conference. Steve Jobs was the keynote speaker, so I had the opportunity to interact. He's a little bit eccentric, but a great knowledgeable guy. Evening, we went to his house for a barbecue. I couldn't believe that a man who literally has everything, his house, no furniture, nothing. He has got all those, like the Devon type of Indian people have, something like that, and very simple, but he has done up his barbecue area really well, because invites on a daily basis a lot of people. I think Steve Wozniak literally was living with Steve Jobs, very eccentric but wonderful character. And I met Nelson Mandela when we did a campaign for them for ANC. We went to South Africa because TBWA we have a team called SWAT team, which they meet once in 6 months and dissect the brands we work, which is revenue based, and then we used to come up with a lot of ideas. this is what another thing I just now had morning before starting the session. I told Nofil also that since you guys work on not only for us, maybe Nofil is working for Titan and a couple of other brands also. You don't expect the client to tell you everything what you should do. Now then you're not progressing yourself, you're not allowing the client to, because all of a sudden when something goes wrong, the client will call you. It's not doing, you guys are not taking care of my website. That's general comment. They will forget all the good work you have done for the past. Luckily for Nofil, I am there, so nobody bitches about Nofil. So I take care of most of his thing. I said, no, give them another chance. It's okay. But most of the clients will react the moment things go wrong. So don't give them that chance. A. B is constantly look for things. This is where I said most of these youngsters, when they have this earphone in my office also, I just pull it out, I just throw it. I said, don't do this. Keep watching what is going around you, which is more important. You have a time to listen to music, brilliant. You all have to have that kind of thing because you're all growing millennials. But at the same time, the moment you put this, you're lost completely. And now another thing is keep on looking at the phone. Right from the time I came, my phone is somewhere over there. Even coffee break, I don't touch it. Because unless and until I have that ownership saying that you guys have left everything and then come here to listen to me. If I keep looking at the phone, every possible chance of calling someone, it can wait. 2 hours, it can wait. Nothing will go wrong. Sundays, I don't touch my mobile. I tell my bosses also, Sundays, if you want to call me on my landline. But don't call me on landline for anything and everything because Sunday is mine. No? Sundays, I don't see the mobile. There is something I think all of you should do is detox from this social media and everything at least weekly once. Life is beautiful. Life is much more than just being glued on to the phone all the time. And because WhatsApp, if you go to see all the WhatsApp forwards, are all, I take this garbage and put it on you, you take the garbage and put it on to somebody else, right? You see the forwards, then it comes back to me. I think I was the only intelligent guy who has picked up something nice from WhatsApp. After 10 days, it comes back to me. This is how social media works. So detox yourself weekly once. If you can't do it 24 hours, do it for 1 hour. You say, I have not seen the mobile today. 1 hour, between 12 and 1, I will not see the mobile. Life becomes more beautiful. But best experience, what I had is working on Singapore Airlines. As I said that, Singapore Airlines is one of the best brands I have worked. This is the early, I still managed to preserve this. If anybody wants to go through, you should go through this. And they call it as SIA Bible. Okay? It's a brand book developed in when did I work? 85, I think, 84, 85. Prior to that, it was there, all taken hard copy, photocopy that time. We used to call it, in India they call it Xerox because of brand Xerox. Over there it's called photocopy, and then photocopied and then given to all the account handlers of Singapore Airlines. That means they have 2 meetings in a year. They call it as a review preview meeting, one in April, one in November. That means what you present in April is last 6 months what you have done, and at the same time, review what you are going to do also. So they call it as preview review meeting, which will happen twice in a year, and every alternate years there is a. I'm going to play that video. There is a Singapore Airlines training center. That means you can whole day and nobody can. They take your attendance. If I represent West Asia, Saudi Arabia, and Bahrain, they say that Srini has entered in, and while going, I'll have to return their identity and walk out. Nobody can escape because Singapore is a beautiful place. Everybody wants to go for shopping. But those 2 days, you are not supposed to go anywhere. They are that strict. That's why the brand is very well recognized now. Right from their simulation center to the cabin crew training center, they will take you around all over the place. The next video shows that it's just awesome. It is. Best part in Singapore Airlines is, if you have given a media plan, Arab News, my ad is going to appear on November 23rd. Once given approved, you can't change the date also. Unless there is some event that has affected the airline market, maybe an air crash or whatever it is, you cannot change that. That's how a brand works very well. Singapore Airlines, I've never worked on any other brand. Though I've worked on Bulgari as well. Bulgari is another brilliant watch company out of Switzerland. All of you should just have a look at it whenever you guys know. It gives you the essence of how a brand should function. Right from communication, if there is an ad appearing, what should be the margin this side, what should be the margin that side. It gives you everything. Same case I worked on that Abu Dhabi one. TBW Abu Dhabi, when I joined initially, we worked on this brand Abu Dhabi. They wanted to portray Abu Dhabi in such a way that they want to compete with Dubai. But never happened, that's different. More of a fonts, even if you see the fonts, it's more of a calligraph kind of a thing. And adapted into English and Arabic also, basically because Arabs are much more prominent as far as Abu Dhabi is concerned. More Egyptians used to visit, more Moroccans used to come. So they read and understand Arabic. But in line with that, they also, target other nationals coming, because basically people used to come to Middle East, nothing else for the sun. Most of the Europeans, they used to come because the place is really warm. Best aircraft, best in-flight service, strategic and tactical, they have two things. I think all of us should do this. I think at the SNN I do it. On a corporate level, how you want to project your brand, not necessarily everything has to be price driven or everything has to be offer driven. So SIA, they had a thing of strategic where they talk only about their aircraft and entertainment, Chris World. Tactical is all about routes, from where to where they are flying. And if there is any summer offer or winter offer is there when the takeoff is less and the aircraft is flying light. At that time, they used to even offer upgrades at the airport. You can go in you can book an economy, and if the flight in business class and first class is reasonably light, they used to announce it's available. You can pay at the counter, upgrade yourself, and then walk into business class or first class. Another thing they used to do brilliant is once in 6 months, Singapore Airlines compulsorily all the brand custodians are supposed to make a media visit. That means we select the media guys, take them to Singapore. So while taking, and then it will be done jointly. Singapore Airlines and Singapore Tourism Promotion Board, STPB we used to call it. So STPB and SIA will do a joint media visit where taking them will be in first class, while coming back it will be business class for the media. And at the on-ground support is provided by Singapore Tourism Promotion Board. And then what they will do is book them in the best of hotels, evening entertainment, right from night safari. They had a zoo, night safari they call it. They take you around the zoo, everything you can see in the night. Singapore does everything completely different, though it's a very small country. Everything is done brilliantly. So these are the things they do. Regular brand management meetings held twice a year. I told you, we call it as World Marketing Conference. Every alternate year you can get into the simulation. You can say Chennai airport, it comes. Exactly how the landing happens in Chennai, you could feel it. That's the kind of technology they always. Please play the next. Video please.
I'm Joy Fang. I've been with SIA for about 35 years. I'm a trainer with the SIA School for Cabin Crew. The school is run by the Cabin Crew Training Department. My job, along with those of my fellow colleagues, is to train and transform our cabin crew members into service professionals of distinction. I joined the airlines in 1977 as a cabin crew member and flew with the airlines for about 19 years before I came down in 1996 to become a trainer. What has stayed the same over the years for Singapore Airlines is the Singapore girl. There is a certain timeless appeal about her. She is the embodiment of Asian graciousness, hospitality, and charm. And I think she still is as relevant today as she was then.
I've always wanted to be a Singapore girl because when I was young,
going to the airport on the weekends and watching the girls float by, was awe-inspiring. As a Singapore girl, I believe that every day I don on the uniform, I have definitely made a difference in someone's life.
I feel proud to be a Singapore girl because it is an icon of Singapore. Whenever I put this kebaya on, I feel that I have to perform well because it represents Singapore and Singapore Airlines. Whenever customers come on board, we want to make them feel like they're at home, makes them feel as comfortable they can be. A service from the heart, it's very important. We treat all our passengers like our family members.
I treat the aircraft as my home, and every passenger that walks in through that door is my guest that I welcome into my home. When every one of us have guests in the house, you would like to let them leave your house with that happy, smiling, that feeling that they want to come back again.
I am a German-speaking crew and one of the SIA Air Sommeliers. We do once a month a German flight either to Frankfurt, Munich, Zurich, and we are to make the German announcements on board and converse with our passengers if they can't speak any English and German to make them feel a sense of home, being homely on board. Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Wir möchten Sie noch einmal an Bord des Singapore Airlines Flugs SQ26 nach Frankfurt und New York begrüßen. It is my pride and joy to be part of Singapore Airlines, and as a cabin crew, it is the journey every day that I take with our customers. Their journey is not just getting from point A to point B, but getting them there and enjoying the flight. When we are able to meet the expectation of the customers, that's normal service. However, it is an opportunity that arises for us to go beyond the expectation of the customer. And on top of that, that intuitive feeling to anticipate what the customer wants and able to connect with him or her at that point of time. To me, that's good service.
I must say that they are very well trained. They're very experienced. They really know how to read the facial expression, the body language of the passenger. I never have to raise my hand and say, hey, I need a drink. The staff on the plane, they can tell just from your facial expression. I think if I just tilt my eyebrow a little bit, they kind of know that you're looking for something.
It's about service from the heart. It's about making the ordinary extraordinary. And going that extra bit is nothing extra for the crew, but it's something special for the passenger.
I always tell people what good service is. Before you sneeze, someone will give you the handkerchief. Before it rains, someone will bring you the umbrella. The ability to anticipate, that's what really makes a difference.
Okay, I'll take you, now that my part with intermarkets and TWA is over. As I said, I came back in 2008. In 2009, I joined SNN, and I'm going to complete in September 10 years. And my experience was just brilliant. Made very comfortable by this gentleman over here, Mr. Nitin Agarwal, who is the owner, director of SNN. He's just 40 years old, but plenty of brain, plenty of empowering people to function because he believed in that. He's one person who changed the face of the brand, I would put it, along with me, of course. But I always give the credit to the entire team. If a brand has to grow, the entire team has to contribute. And all SNN, right from office boy level to the board level, everybody contributes basically because I make sure that people are treated well actually. I once presented to my board because I felt that basically board consists of a lot of Marwadis and they have that innate arrogance with them not to appreciate and say good things about. So I played that Munnabai MBBS where Sanjay Dutt goes and hugs a cleaner. So I played it to the board and I said if an office boy brings a cup of coffee, please say thank you. So that culture is imbibed into them basically because for some reason those guys were not the fortunate ones, but you should make them feel really comfortable how they function. That's why attrition level is the lowest in S&M. The retention value of staff is the highest, close to about 97-98%, which is unheard of in real estate industry. If you get 1,000 rupees more, they generally leave and go. But it's not happening. Things are working out really good, and the company is growing. So this man is responsible for that. He has empowered me everything. I can do anything and everything. Few things I always make sure is I do properly is that my hands are clean. Anybody talks about trying to bribe me or give money, I think that's the last meeting they will ever have with me. And I tell them also, fortunate for you, I'm sitting in the first floor, otherwise I'll throw you through the window. So I'm very, maybe obsessed with that. So what I did is when I joined initially, there are a few things I'm just deviating because this is also useful for all you guys. Never take money from anybody and anything. What is written here for you, you are destined to get that. Whatever you try, you will not get it. And one day you will be caught if you're doing something wrong. And home loan guys, interior guys, you name it, everybody pays to my frontliners. Right from the banks, they used to pay them to the extent it went up to 12,000-13,000 rupees per home loan application. My frontline guys were getting. So Ajay Roya from Axis Bank came and cried. I said, "Will you testify this in front of Nitin?" He said, "Yeah, I will do it." He came and told Nitin. Nitin said, "Sir, but Santosh is our top performer." I said, "No, I will start selling. He can't be better than me, right?" I threw challenge, and then we removed. Lock, stock and barrel, all the frontliners replaced with them, new guys, and I called all the banks. Okay, how much you guys are paying to my frontliners? All of them accepted, right from LIC, State Bank, Axis, HDFC, everybody. I said, okay, from today, this is my account number. I opened an SNN account number. I said, you will pay me 0.045% to this account, each home loan application. I will calculate and give it to you. If your check doesn't come, you're not getting the business. So I made the bribe official. That's what I'm saying. As a leader, you're empowered to do things. For interior, same. So we collect close to last quarter, I distributed 40 lakhs of rupees. 40 lakhs among all the SNN staff, including my back-end support, CRM guys. Office boys, I'll have to only tell my check collector, jayega sir. He will go collect and come because he has got incentive. So it's up to you guys, whoever is running the company, you need to make sure all these under the table, over the table, through the table, I don't know what all sides the table has got, you get paid everywhere. Now that's culture in India, but you need to change that. If you need to change that, your hands need to be clean actually. So I request all of you, whatever brand you are working on, whatever, don't take any favors. I get a lot of gifts also at SNN. I came out, give it to my staff, distribute to everybody. I don't take a single gift my home. If anything, say, I'm just hinting also, Noful should send me some gift. If Noful sends a gift tomorrow, that one gets distributed to my staff. Red FM, they regularly send me all those vouchers, coupons they get from all the advertisers. It's all given back to the staff. So you as a leader need to set an example how you function if you want to take the brand to the next level. I'll just quickly take you through some of the works we have done. Next, please. This is the core philosophy. This is the book. That's a book I spoke about. This is called Disruption. This has got a series of 3 volumes. Disruption, how disruption changed the world. Another one is another disruption book. It's written by Jean-Marie Roux. It's over a period of time when we started disruption. And at the end of it, we spoke about all the brands because we spoke about the brands like Apple, Nissan, all those brands. Whichever the brands we worked on, we had spoken about them. And all these brands are not just because we had done disruption basic as group. They kind of adapted the culture of disruption. Disruption is all about, first you need to create some quarter of this room or something like that and identify what conventions are ruling the market. You need to identify that personally. So in SNL we have a green room where we pin all these, before we start any new launches, new things, we We survey that entire area, get the brochures, get the radio spots, get the television spots, get the print ads, print up everything and see how the competition is functioning in that particular micro market. So that is conventions. Once you arrive at a convention and see what everybody is doing, then you go back, don't look into this, then you go back to the new marketplace, a vision. You have to have a vision. How you want to have a vision? In terms of maybe creating a theme for the project, because all the SNN projects, we create a theme. Any one USP will be there where you can build that USP around that, and that becomes your communication disruptive vision, that is. Then we come up with an idea. Very provocative, very path-breaking idea. That will break the clutter. Basically, because real estate is all about happy families, nice swimming pool, all are stock images. But somewhere I think so there has to be a reality, and you need to touch the people of hearts. So we came up with one campaign. Okay, before going into that, then this is called TBWA Connections Wheel. What is Connection Wheel is, once we come up with the idea, then we plot numbers. It has got PR, direct advertising, action marketing, connect, and then 3D design, everything. So in that you have the sub-branding as well, how you want to brand your entire communication budget, what you have. Obviously you cannot do anything. Maybe you can select two of this, and then see how it functions. Over a period of time, it doesn't give you results, maybe change it to something else. So this gives you the entire media touch point. So when you plan your media plan, this gives you the real tool actually. So first we disrupt, then we connect. So this is how it happens. So brand SNN in a span of 9 years, we have grown well. Attribute this, we give priority to staff and then customers. One of the things I do very well is 90% of the time customers call and then bitch about my staff. They say they are not doing their job. I say stop. We will take care, but stop bitching about my staff. You need to make them understand. Even a smallest thing would have triggered that. But if I take the side of the customer, call the staff also, and then sit with them and then try to reprimand them, that's a disaster. End of the day, you need to get the work done only through your staff. But you need to educate them. You need to have regular sessions with them, which I do it. Once in a month, I definitely meet them. Once in a week, I meet my entire CRM team, because they are the people who are in touch point, because their job is the most stressful one. Calling you for your money is always the toughest thing. Customer doesn't want to pay. So you'll find a mistake to shout at her, shout at him, then it becomes nasty. So we do that very well at SNN. And train the staff to have patience and empathy. Top level management is easily accessible. What we do very well is me and Nitin are accessible at any point in time. They have to just walk into Jayanagar office. They don't need appointments. But if you are with somebody or busy with some work, they have to have the patience to wait for us. Then it happened. At SNN, we have 4 meeting rooms. That means 4 different clients we can handle at the same time. These are the few things which I learned from TBWA. TBWA, we have 2 meeting rooms. One is the regular conventional one where coffee, samosa, everything comes and then you discuss everything, nothing is actioned. So we call it as boardroom, no action. Then we call one room where people have just like this, no chairs also. They come, all the staff will come, they will stand. It's only maximum time allowed is 9 minutes. I don't know why 9 minutes. More than 9 minutes you cannot have that meeting. Any internal staff issue or any external client issue, call the team, discuss, get out. Take action and then finish it up. That meeting room, no need to book or anything, you can do it. Maybe you should try in your offices also. So under promise, over deliver, specs and amenities add on. We do a lot of these things. We generally say that the amenities list, say 20 amenities are there. We always end adding more amenities to that list so that there is a surprise element. Board is very supportive. Board and brand management program, any program, whatever we give, it's always approved. Highest level of referral business. We have the highest level of referral business in SNN. That means customer satisfaction is 100% as far as the brand experience is concerned. Vendor and channel partners, now interests are taken care. Most of the builders in my fraternity don't pay the channel partners on time. For us, it is the moment customer pays 27%, we disperse the payment. They don't even need to ask us. We send the check and then They are very happy. Innovative marketing concepts. We come up with communication program that works very well for us. I'll just share some. So these are the few things, we are very customer friendly, easily approachable. If they find a snake, they will call me and then send me a picture also. Srini, there is a snake in the project. I don't get irritated, but I send it to the landscape consultant. I tell him, find a snake repellent plants maybe, come up with something innovative, And they are right also, all of a sudden to find snakes. Same case, this gentleman, Mr. Agarwal, sent me, see, I am not able to open my door here. So we are very, very, all these things, they come to me, and this is another thing which we came up with, that water treatment plant, this is the kind of water we are getting. So these kind of complaints come to me and Nitin, but we don't get irritated. The problem with the brand custodians, they get irritated very fast. They'll say, no, ye nahi kar sakta hai. I won't do this. No, you need to, because they come and place their life savings. You need to have that empathy, sympathy, then automatically business will come. Disruption at SNN, every aspect of real estate is seen differently. I think I've covered most of it. So you need to identify the conventions, you need to break through the clutter of sameness. Too much of sameness is there. As far as you can't really offer, but you need to offer something which is tangible. Like Loful went to our Green Bay, he was very impressed. He said the forest is looking awesome. So let me take you through the forest thing. Forest theme in Green Bay is one of the best. We have 4 acres of forest. We promised 4 acres of forest. We are delivering 4 acres. Already 2-3 acres of plantations have grown also. It has come out really well. I'm sure that even when we came up for this, we came up with the forest theme. We said for rest of your life. Now, that's how the TV ad starts. Next one, please. 1 lakh square feet at Eternia. This is another unique selling point, which is in the middle of blocks. Huge open space. We have come up with 4 swimming pools, along with the landscape. So, with the waterfall. So, something different we always create. Man-made lake at Serenity. We had about 2 acres available. We created an artificial lake over there. We have all those colorful fish, nice fountains, everything is there. It's beautiful. It is. Next. And in the same project, we have given them 1 lakh square feet. This is the largest clubhouse ever produced by any builders. Others are claiming. You can go for yourself and have a look at it. Completely done differently. And all these clubhouses, everything, myself, Nitin, along with my technical team, we get involved in all these things because this is the most selling point as far as marketing is concerned. We get involved, and up to the branding level, we definitely get it involved and then execute it. Delivered what we promised for. Next one, please. I'm just giving you some sample. Green Bay, we call it as brand nature actually, basically because we are really giving you a forest. It's not just a promise of small landscape kind of a thing. Live amongst for rest of your life. Live amongst the nature for rest of your life. And this is the tagline what we came up with Green Bay. And Eternia, a bit delay, strong personal meetings, coffee with CEO. We delayed the project by 3-4 months. What we do, another thing is, whenever there is a few months delay also, we tell them 1 year in advance. So they plan their lease, they plan their schooling, they plan their shifting better. We don't tell them if April is going to be handover in March, we don't tell them we are delayed by 4 months. Much better that we will get some flack definitely, but it's okay with us, but they understand. Nowadays, they're all okay with that actually. At least they say you guys deliver at least. At rest of us, you don't even deliver the project. So that is the one. Clermont, paints. See, the Clermont, what we did is we took over from SR, and there were a lot of pain points. Any major acquisition takeovers always is a problem. A lot of points came in, and people were bitching about us, saying that one tower is not constructed properly by SR. There are problems between SR and SNN. They keep spreading the rumors. So we came up with call it as a promise campaign, which I'll share the credits. Green Bay, we came up with a campaign. This is at Lakeview actually, where I live. So I go morning walking. I'm a very big believer of an hour of exercise, 23 hours of bliss. Every day I don't miss my workout, but no excuses on that. Good to see you. So people lost a lot of weight actually. I was really happy to see him. So this I saw, I was walking past and then I saw this one. I said, this is a brilliant idea for Green Bay because we are going to deliver the project shortly with the forest. So the next one is, we created this. So we said, a tree is pregnant, please next one. We came up with this campaign. We said that, soon to be delivered a new forest from S&M Builders. A simple caption with all these things are driven only by me. The agency comes and sits in the office. I generally drive it through them. Here also I came and then a couple of campaigns I worked with because I have a passion towards that. I definitely do it. So this campaign, when we completed, we got, in 2 months we got close to 100 bookings, which we have never done it. So 50 bookings each in 2 months is brilliant. So every campaign is path-breaking. Next one, please. Then recently we came up with this campaign. We don't want to show, again, if you see no elevation is showed, nothing is showed. It simply says my extended family and I have moved into the man-made forest in Green Bay, ready to move in, waiting for you. That's a key message. This campaign is going to start, I think, in next week. It's starting in digital. Next, please. Coffee with I was watching one day Coffee with Karan, one of the episodes, and at the same time there were a lot of complaints about the project being delayed in Eternia and people wanted a lot of queries to be answered. So I said, why not we create a brand for ourselves? This we started about 4 or 5 years back. Every year I do this at SNN in any one of the projects. I will sit myself for the 3 consecutive Saturdays or 2 consecutive Saturdays and Sundays. And I meet all the customers. Anybody can walk in, except discounts, they can ask me anything. Any questions related to the project, any doubts they have on SNN, any problems they have on SNN, they can address all those things. Right from morning, I reach the site at 10 o'clock till about 8 o'clock in the night. And on the last day of the event, I have even dinner with them. We arrange a nice dinner, tell all the customers, please visit, we want to meet again. So we came up with a couple of This had run as a half-page ad, and nobody had done it in real estate. Very boldly, you can come and meet me. So this produced a lot of eyeballs. This produced a lot of trust as far as the brand is concerned. So the brand trust was created only with Coffee with CEO of SNN. This is a kind of we have only not registered this. Otherwise, this is an SNN initiative. We do it at every year, and very, very successful. Next one, please. I'll just play you 2 radio commercials. Play this. This is good enough, actually. My own voiceover.
Hi, I'm Srinivasan, CEO of SNM Builders. SNM would like to extend our sincere thanks to all those who have availed our 4444 offer at SNM Rajachani on Harlow Road. And those of you who haven't, I invite you for a cup of coffee as great things get brewing over coffee. So do come over, let's meet, talk and sip some coffee. And of course, I will answer all your queries personally. See you soon.
Meet and have coffee with the award-winning CEO, real estate marketing analyst and advertising guru, Mr. Srinivasan at SNN Branch Eternia on Harlow Road, adjacent to HSR. Book at SNN Branch Eternia and avail an unbeatable offer of Rs 4444 per square feet. Offer closing shortly and prices go up by Rs 5,000 per square feet. Book today and save over 18 lakhs. Call 08040444444. That is 08040444444.
Stay with quality, stay with SNM. Good luck. See you all at Eternia.
So this was produced at the studio with my own voiceover. Few of the things again for the branding, what we did is the offer was 4444, including the call to action at the same kind of the finishing number. So these are the little things. If you get it done, I think always the brand presents itself to the listeners or to the person who is reading newspaper or on digital. The noticeability is on the highest level actually. So pay attention to detail should be there in anything, whatever you do, be it a campaign, because what happens is in India particularly is when you develop a concept, people don't think holistic in terms of how the other touch points will work. You might come up with a brilliant print ad, and that may not be easily adaptable into the touch points as far as digital is concerned. So when you come up with a big idea, always think about how I can extend this into all touch points. So the media plan is also holistic in terms of how we want to function. It gives the brand a brilliant. No. Okay, this is the film what we produced for Forest.
For the rest of your life, imagine waking up every day to see a forest. SNN Raj Green Bay. The mother of all projects with the forest.
In August 2014, we launched SNN Raj Green Bay with a promise to create a forest, and we are on our course to fulfill our commitment. Work on the forest will soon commence to ensure you live in a greener environment for the rest of your life. Global average of trees per person is 427, and in India, it is just 28 trees per person. Today, destruction of forests and green cover is visible all over the world. Closer to home, the city of Bengaluru, once the garden city of the country, is losing its green cover to development faster than you can imagine. At SNN, we take our responsibility as developers seriously. For every apartment we build, we ensure that we balance our development by planting an equal or more number of trees. By creating environmentally sustainable projects, we put our words into action. Every project that we create at SNN is special. SNN Raj Green Bay is very close to our heart. Because through this project, not only do we bring Bengalurians the first forest-themed project in the city, but more importantly, we are proud to be actually creating a forest that adds to the city's green cover. Come, adopt a tree and connect with life. Be one with nature. Others talk, we do.
So this entire campaign for Green Bay Eternia is again innovation, disruption, whatever we need to do so that the brand gets project-wise attention. It is not that we do holistically for one and then try to pitch in and then say whatever we want to say. It's focus is completely on the project, focus is completely on the particular extension of brand. This we came up with, the campaign is still not yet started. We are going to start shortly. You will again see another campaign because the neighboring projects are all bitching about us, saying that project will not be completed. SNN has got problem with SR because we took over this project from SR. So we want to negate that by, we call it as promise signature campaign, which I am calling it. So it will have a personal message while others are talking and busy delivering projects basically. And very subtly I am telling them Tower 1 and 2 ready to occupy, OC obtained, and project completion is on schedule actually. So December 2019 is the project to be completed. We are hopeful we will complete. Unless and until I speak about that, people still talk bad about us. Basically, last week we had a channel partner meeting, and the burning question was, people are talking about your project, you're not doing anything. So another idea that came up with is that personal message from my side will go into people's mind, and then they change their purchase decision, postponing into coming into brand Claremont and then start working with us. I'm going to present you two cases quickly. I think more or less we are completed. We have time, right?
Yeah.
So brands replicated market specific. I'm going to show you one interestingly from Pakistan. It is, but I covered most of them around globe how brands are evolving in terms of. This is a set of advertising professionals from, I think it was Oinam, I think so. They joined together. They said, let's start a startup in Pakistan. So they decided to get into this thing of that typical Pakistan chai kind of thing. So something replicating from Starbucks. So they started something, and then now apparently it's doing very well. And the next one is this. So they have taken this concept of Starbucks into the Pakistan culture, because Pakistan coffee is not is the major beverage which is being consumed. Tea is the major. So they came up, which is next please. They said bring a Gora franchise, and then they write a complete copy of it and then go for this. They call it as Sattar Baksh Cafe. So Sattar is the ownership, they maintained it, and they came up with an idea which is really, go to the next please. If you see, this is the ambience of Sattar Baksh. So Starbucks and Sattar Baksh, it's more or less, phonetically it sounds really nice, but how they exploited, the brilliance is that they more or less copied it. Okay, it's fine. But how they changed the entire concept of chai drinking. The next one, please, you can see. I see something. I'm not very good in Hindi. You guys can definitely read it. I'm a Pakka Chennai guy, so I speak a little bit Hindi, not much actually. Chai haath mein, gupshup saath mein, something like that. They came up with all those branding. This is called the typical branding of how a brand extension will definitely work to your advantage. Apparently, they are doing very well in terms of sales. People go to Sattar Baksh, they spend all those, the kebabs. And typical Pakistan kind of environment is created over here. Next one is again video. It is two. I'm going to compare it. I don't know which one copied which one. So have a look at it. You must have seen this.
जिंदगी में लोगों की सेवा करना, दिल्ली फ्लाइट, विंडो सीट।
आप प्लीज हैं।
जानती हो हम कौन है? जानती हो क्या? जल्दी करो।
मैं कुछ करती हूँ सर। यात्री कृपया ध्यान दें, ये महाशय नहीं जानते कि ये कौन है। अगर आप इनकी ये जानने में मदद कर सकते हैं तो बड़ी मेहरबानी होगी।
मोंटासा की ताजी हरी परफ्यूम है कुदरती थीमी जिससे आपका दिमाग खुल जाए।
My 30 kicked out now.
I'm sorry, sir. That flight is.
That is a business class ticket.
Yes, sir, we could arrange a
Do you know who I am?
Introducing the rich aroma and distinctive taste of a new premium tea, Joko Gold. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? There's a gentleman here who doesn't know who he is. If anyone is able to assist him, please report to the information desk.
Joko Gold gives you strength when you need it.
So we don't know who copied whom, but these things happen always in branding and communication. Now, how can you skew your brand message through popular happenings? Because two samples I have taken, one is both of them from Kumbh Mela, one is for Lifebuoy, another one is for Vodafone ear mask. Very nice branding opportunity.
Diarrhea still kills 1.1 million children annually in developing countries. Lifebuoy believes this can be averted. The Mahakumbh Mela, India, 2013, the largest religious festival on the planet. Over 100 million people come here to pray together, live together, and eat together. Lifebuoy Soap saw this as a perfect opportunity to convey an important message. Always wash your hands with soap before you eat. Our medium, the roti, or the Indian bread, served with almost every Indian meal. And the only way to eat it is with your hands. We created a heat stand capable of leaving a simple message on a routine. Did you wash your hands with Lifebuoy? And over 30 days, a team of 100 people stood in one-track kitchens, stamping over 2.5 million fresh routines. Helping us to reach out to over 5 million visitors at Honeycomb. So, will people remember to wash their hands before their next meal? Let's pray they do.
See, all the time, you can't get through your message through your conventional media. You need to look for a message, the next one. You can play that. Next one is about Vodafone, how they have come up with the DR box.
Winters in northern India often touch temperatures as low as 4 degrees centigrade. During one such winter, 100 million people came together to warm their souls at the largest religious festival in the world. Vodafone India decided to connect with this audience by promoting its range of value-added services in a meaningful way, presenting the Vodafone Musical Earmuff, a handy device which combined a devotional song with a much-needed winter accessory. One cold morning, we distributed thousands of musical earmuffs to people from all walks of life, helping us reach out to some of the most inaccessible sections of Indian society at a fraction of the cost. Thank you for listening.
So these are the two, most of the presentations I do, I include them basically because very thought-provoking actually. If you go to see if you can think something like that and come where nearly about say 100,000 people are going to be there, you need to come up with an idea which the branding could be extended over there. You may not get in terms of sales, but the brand recall, the brand recognition is way too high actually. Next one, please.
Winters.
Okay. I read today's Times of India. I think most of you have seen it. It has become the biggest player as far as print media is concerned, and their readership has gone to circulation has gone to over some 14-20 million, and readership has gone to really way too high. Basically, because this is one print media who has always changed the rules of how they want to function, how they want to project. This was introduced, one of the first video what I'm going to show is, it has picked up a theme from cinema, Tamil cinema, and then they adapted themselves. The lyrics was written differently by the Times of India team to suit that. The lyrics in the actual movie is different, the lyrics in this one, but they have more or less maintained the same kind of beat and the tonality of it. And then they are saying that we are going to come to Chennai. And the second one is all about Mumbai Mirror, how it's functioning in Mumbai. And very, very subtly they brought it out very nicely with some of the Mumbai's beautiful messages, which hit people really well, and then circulation again gone up. Now Times of India in Chennai is more or less close to Hindu actually. Hindu traditionally because they are too conservative. Please. Till now, no branding. That's it. A day in the life of Chennai is the only line, and with the strong Times of India branding. One of the this has won, I think, 2 or 3 awards in Cannes. Now for a regional thing to receive an award in Cannes is next to impossible. This and the Mumbai Mirror, both Times of India, because Times of India branding in every aspect, if you go to see, because they come and interview all of us. I know how they are doing it. None of them, not the Deccan Herald, not the Hindu, the Indian Express, are that aggressive as far as the marketing program and branding program is concerned. One of the best, actually. Please play the next. It is also beautiful. End is brilliant.
They burned my book! They burned my book! They burned my words! But they will never be able to silence my voice! Never! I am Mumbai! I am Mumbai!
जो दूध हमारे घर में आता है उसमें गड्ढे का पानी मिला होता है और वही दूध मुझे मेरे बच्चों को भी पिलाना पड़ता है क्यों मैं पूछती हूँ क्यों पिलाऊं मैं ऐसा दूध मैं हूँ मुंबई हमारा पिक्चर ये कैमरे से नहीं होता है हमको हफ्ते में 2 बार ही कुछ खाने को मिलता है और क्या हम खाना रखते हैं कोई बर्तन साफ करना पड़ता है मैं हूँ मुंबई
This city is my home! ये मेरे बाप का घर है समझा I have been not had your political posters done in the walls of my home you got it? And believe me your political posters can hear me I am Mumbai I am Mumbai
And they have picked it up so nicely, all the local news, because Mirror is all about local news. And they have come up with that typical train which is like heartline of Mumbai. So they have taken that train running sound and subtly branding it beautifully with Mumbai Mirror. No, right? They have built it up. Now, I always tell people also, branding, communication and advertising is like a storytelling. So where you start, people should relate to the next one, relate to the next one, relate to the next one. Then finally, if the branding is done properly, you have done your job. So these are the 2 examples. Okay, this one I picked it up from Argentina. This is an air conditioner communication. Branding was done beautifully because summer in Argentina, Buenos Aires is really hot. And they brought out the message so beautifully, touching the hearts of people again. And apparently that air conditioner sales really picked up very well. This was done by Saatchi and Saatchi, please.
Along with summer comes every family's worst nightmare. Dads in briefs.
Is there anything more humiliating than your dad trying to be cool in front of your friends? Yes, if he does it in briefs. There in the background, it seems the man in briefs has no signal. What about there? No. And there? No. How about now? Now he has. Bravo.
Okay, I'll quickly run through some of the, because when you talk about branding, of course, Bangalore, you don't have OH anymore. Out of home is literally banned. I don't know when it's going to come back. Some interesting execution, how you can brand your product in terms of outdoor advertising. I'll quickly run through. This is for vertical soccer for Narita Stadium in Japan. So still the big line.
Picture of the morning, we've all seen a million billboards. You've never seen one like this. It's in Tokyo, Adidas, 10 stories up. Some people being hung from ropes playing soccer live on a billboard.
These guys are playing a real game of soccer dangling from a billboard.
Soccer has literally exploded in Japan. In Osaka, they're really taking the game to new heights with this. It's called vertical soccer.
Yes, a soccer match, and it was suspended from ropes on the side of a building in downtown Japan.
So this got maximum number of PR exposure. CNN, BBC, everybody covered it. It's a very, thoughtful way of presenting how branding should be done. Next one. This is the one which is when Munich airport, the FIFA World Cup is happening. Oliver Kahn, right through nearly about 3-4 lanes of highway was covered, and then this was erected. Next one, please. This was done for IKEA. IKEA is one of the most disruptive brand as far as Europe is concerned. Anything they come up with, when you enter into an IKEA, there are no two ways about it that you can't get out from there. You'll have to go through a certain path, and then you'll have to end up coming out a certain way. You can't halfway. You can only return, but generally the entry and exit is created in such a way, right from your entry foyer to living dining to bedrooms to kitchen to toilet, everything is provided under one experience zone, and accordingly the brand played a major role in terms of changing the way how home furnishing should be. This is Nike, which is again one of the best outdoor. I think this is somewhere in the Middle East, I'm not too sure. This was done for Prestige again. So when you plan any branding actions for you, think about always how you are going to do this touch point, because it has to convey the same message. You can't have different kind of messages for different branding. So you need to decide that and do it. Finally, I think I'm going to be finishing in next 3-4 slides. Most exciting thing, time to be involved in the business. Yes, we are being confronted by enormous changes. Plenty of changes have happened. As I said, we have moved on from print to outdoor to digital to social media. So still everything is continuing. So you need to plan your budgets properly, come up with concepts which will really work well in terms of how you want to present the brand. Yes, the digital revolution is changing the way we work. Yes, many companies would disappear. I feel that more will mushroom, more will disappear. So in terms of more startups are coming. Startups are every hour there is definitely a startup coming as far as India is concerned. The world is going to be less branded. It's going to be more, and more is always merrier. The brand is no longer what we tell the customer is. It is what customers tell to each other. It's no more that we interact with them. They come, they buy, they go. No. It is left to the entire target audience how they want to react to a brand and then make it work or it might fail. Your brand story is unfolding across all customer touch points. Making promises and keeping them is a great way to build a brand. So you need to interact. You cannot say that, become arrogant and some kind of a thing and say that, no, it's okay, I will do my activity. It doesn't work. Particularly, the advent of social media has changed the way people see a brand. It's not like anymore before. And before I conclude, always do the thing we fear. We always don't do the thing we fear, and death of fear is certain. Because I'm going to play a video. It's a very short video of Steve and Oprah, and then it talks about fear. Fear. Just before starting this function, also even I was wondering. I was only pacing, basically, because I don't know how I'm going to present to you all. Basically, you all have come here and then left everything, come to listen to me. So I need to prepare myself in terms of how I'm going to present to you, and it should make some kind of relevance to whatever industry you are in. I hope it happens. The next video will tell you why we should not fear. I love this video.
Wanted to ask you, how do you overcome the fears and doubts?
I mean, look, the fears and doubts are a part of it. Can I be honest with you? Everything I've ever done started with a fear. My walking out on stage, that starts with the fear. When Oprah came and got me for this live class, I said, boy, this is like a stand-up appearance for me. I'm back there sweating, I don't want to talk to nobody. I have to overcome fear all the time. When I wrote my book, I was afraid. When they told me we wanted you to be a game show host, I'd never done that. I was afraid. When they said we want you to do a talk show, I was afraid. I have to overcome fear all the time. But the best way for me to overcome fear is the dream has to be bigger than the fear. That's the only way you turn around and run at it. I just want something so great. I aim for stuff so big that the dream is bigger than the fear. Look at it like this. If you don't ever go for this, would it be better for you to face the fear or just deal with the fact that you just never gave it a shot?
Face it, definitely.
See, that's what the dream. And I saw you with your tie on. I know that makeup mirror, that's backstage somewhere in a dressing room. Somebody's hiring guys like you. There's no such thing as I'm 57. If I went back out there, I get hired tomorrow as a stand-up. If you find that there's a marketplace for you. Now, look, you got
start where you are, right?
Just start where you are. You don't worry, man. Where you at now? Don't stop paying the house note and stuff.
Okay, so let's go through it. You have to know your gift. Do you think you're gifted at this?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And then you have to be clear about your vision.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then surround yourself with other dreamers. Let's talk about that.
If you don't surround yourself with other dreamers, here's what I know. If 9 of your friends are broke, you're going to be the 10th. That's it. If 7 of your friends smoke, you're going to be number 8. If you stay with that circle of friends, you've got to surround yourself with like-minded people. See, stop telling your big dreams to small-minded people. Take yourself. Look, you're talking to me. You're 52, I'm 57. I'm a stand-up comedian, been one for 30 years. It's a natural thing for me. I would talk to people who are in the business, talk to people who are doing it. Don't let your age define you. Jack Benny, Jonathan Williams, Red Skelton,
George Burns.
George Burns.
At 90, I took up country music. I figured, why not? I'm older than most countries.
Oh, pretty good, right there. See, my mom, I've never been able to do impressions. I can't do that. So I see a guy like you, the golf tournaments, the corporate gigs that's available. clean corporate gigs like that. But surround yourself with people who are like-minded so you can quit getting the negative stuff that's been stopping you anyway.
I also recommend that listen to as much as possible Oprah Winfrey program, basically, because she comes up with really some good arguments and good discussion with people, and she grew up the way she did. When she started Oprah Winfrey own television, the pain she has to go through in terms of projecting her brand was immense, actually, right from young age, how she grew up. It's one of the best, actually. Listen to that. Next, please. Always remember you're not, I'm completing it, always remember you're not here for ordinary things, and you are the co-author of your destiny, because we have got this habit of something goes wrong. We tell God, as I don't know why He's punishing me, but something good is done, you say, I did this, I did this, I did this. I think we should change that aspect, leave everything to Him, and then do your 300%. I normally don't say 100%, give you 300%. Whatever business you are, whatever you are doing, professionally, personally, everything falls in place. Next one, please. Any changes that bring into your life, I myself have done this. Hold on to it for 21 days, and that becomes your culture. I get up every day at 5 o'clock I get up, 5:30 I'm ready for my yoga, and I do it very regularly. Unless and until, you should not give it a break. I don't have time is the general safe zone we all get into. And last night I worked, made me work till 12 o'clock, so I cannot exercise. No, you have to get up at 5 o'clock, join the 5 o'clock club. All the successful people have always found themselves to be in a better position than 5 o'clock club. Please start that one. And of course, wrong ones you should never do. The next one is a video. Please play that. It's a very nice video. Don't do this.
Bennett dinner!
Hey, I'm a dog. What's your excuse?
Can anybody tell us why smoking isn't stupid?
So I request you all to be, next slide please, the last slide. Just do it on a daily basis, an hour of exercise, 23 hours of bliss. I do it on a regular basis. Sundays I make it a point to walk 25 kilometers by the Lake of Madiwala. Do it and experience it. Unless and until, as I said in the first slide, brand is an experience, exercising is an experience. And good thoughts come, trust me on that. When you are walking alone, don't walk with friends, it's waste of time. Walk alone, go alone, walk around, look, don't wear this and go. Just look around and see how beautiful life is and how creative you become is, because every day you'll have to come and give a new idea to know from. If you want to do that, walk alone, walk for miles, there is no problem. Sunday, if you get a chance, walk 20 kilometers. I do 25. Please do it. God bless you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for this wonderful learning experience for us. It's been a great 3-hour session. This is a small token of momentum. Please.
Thank you.
I hope all of you have learned something out of this.
Some takeaways will be there.
And in case if you have any kind of questions, please ask.
So, I wanted to ask you one thing, which is how you can incorporate USPs into branding, and is it important to consider USPs while you're doing branding?
See, any activity you do in any media touch points, you need to have a concept for that. I wouldn't call it as USP per se. Yes, USP, say for example in SNN, whenever we do things, we normally take 3 unique selling points, which are key actually, because when you develop a project, one key should be there. Along with that, at least 2 unique selling points should be there. Be it location, be it your like forest or Central Park, whatever it is. And one more just to add, but you have to have one unique selling point definitely, and incorporate that with the brand SNN kind of a thing, which is maybe could be we deliver projects on time, or we deliver projects with minimal delay. Something should be attached to that. That you cannot put it holistic kind of a branding kind of a thing, because you need to certainly bring that out. Maybe through digital, maybe through print. We don't bring it out, but basically digital where one-to-one conversation takes place. Because when I am putting a digital banner or creating a Facebook page or anything, it's just you and me. So there you have time to go through what I'm saying. So declutter your message as far as possible. It should be driven very nicely by a message. Even Facebook anyway says that you have to have, I think, 70% should be, 80% should be image, 20% copy, 30% copy. I don't know that. Vani will be able to tell you. So you need to package it nicely, because as I said, the social media is the thing which is going to definitely make or break the brand.
I did have one more question. So if you take Coca-Cola, for example, they have not rebranded much since the 60s or 70s. But why does Pepsi do it on a regular basis, like you have shown the slides where Pepsi has gone through a number of renditions in their logos? When Coca-Cola as a brand is very identifiable, when you see Coca-Cola, you remember the feeling of having a Coke.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So what is the purpose of that rebrand?
See, if you see the branding aspect of Coca-Cola, and if you analyze the Pepsi point of view, Pepsi had predominantly gone in for the celebrities, the Michael Jackson, the Sachin Tendulkar, not Sachin Tendulkar did for Coca-Cola, I think. The Michael Jackson and the pop world, whoever is there, they were the brand ambassadors. If you see Coca-Cola, they always touch people emotionally with family. Either it is father, daughter, or more towards a real people. That's how I would. The branding is done completely different. These people relied on celebrities. These people wanted to do it in real life. And Coca-Cola came much before Pepsi came into life, actually. So Pepsi's thing is all about the new generation, the thing, what is happening. Coca-Cola's is all about celebration within the family. So they were more successful.
Why would a brand like Ford rebrand? Because they are one of the earliest manufacturers.
That's what I said. Rebranding, they won't do it rebranding per se. Yes, when they formed in 1903, their identity was suitable for that time actually. As things got evolved, they came up with that Ford in center that more or less maintained that. Maybe gave a little bit of a beveled look, or maybe a 3D effect or whatever it is. They gave that, and over a period of time come and then stop over there. But the look at the first branding, what happens for Ford, what happened to Apple is completely different. Newton sitting under the tree was the first Apple branding. But over a period of time, that bitten apple came over there. Then it started with colored ones when they started that 1984. Over a period of time, when it came to think different, it was completely a different color. Now it is more subtle colors, basically, because one thing with Apple is that their parent branding is so powerful. You see all the laptops, okay, and you see MacBook, completely different. Dell, it's written, you can't even, because branding is done basically because you want Noful and Shafiq to see. Dell is written in such a way you can't even see. But whereas Apple, it's a lit one, backlit one, it's burning your retina all the time. Shafiq sits in front of my MacBook, after 10 minutes, he can't even see it because it's burning his retina. That effective, because that's how branding plays a major role. How you want to portray your brand to the consumers, to the end users is always more important for you. That's the difference between all others actually. Yes, it's a very good question. How they evolved from when they started to now, basically things changed, right?
It's more to do with the zeitgeist.
Yeah, particularly after 2000, the entire buying patterns of people have changed. Internet came into play, and then it started changing. And currently, everything is done on e-tailing. Amazon has become so big, They are one brand. Rest other brands you see earlier, all those Flipkart and Snapdeal, they all used to. But nowadays,
It's all
it's almost more or less. Yeah, exactly. Amazon is one thing basically because they believed in their branding and they believed, like FedEx. When they started in US, they said that we will deliver at 10:30. If we don't deliver at 10:30, FedEx we are. And they delivered. So when your brand promise is done, you need to do that. The brand custodian has to make sure that he has to deliver. So this is the difference.
And one more thing, sir, Sachin did it for Pepsi.
Sachin did? Pepsi?
Pepsi.
Coca-Cola, I think he did, no?
Pepsi.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sir, hi sir. Actually, the 2 videos that we saw for the Kumbh Mela. Okay. So when we are doing some like advertisement or something like that, so we do have a ROI in our mind. Okay. So what is the?
I love you, man.
Exactly. What is the threshold or is like some point that where we look for that? And second question adding to that is like, okay, I am doing some branding, and if I do not get that ROI, so where is the failure? Is it the advertisement team or that is doing that, or is it the back-end team that, okay, advertisement is done, but the support staff and all that is not providing to that extent that ROI is met?
Okay, I'll answer your question in 2 parts. Okay. Number one is, I'll address the failure first, okay? Because if you want to fail, you should fail fast. I always believe in that. Any campaign I do, if it's failing, let it fail fast. It's okay, because you do 10 branding campaigns, you are bound to fail in 2 campaigns. You can't have success all the time. Number one. Number 2 is, the ownership of failure should be taken by the brand custodian. I do a campaign and then I call up Nofil. I should not call up Nofil and say it failed. Why do you know? I did it. I should take the ownership. Okay. And your question as far as the team is concerned is, team will support you as much as how you take them along with you. Most of the problem happens with the branding, brand extension, brand communication. They do it and then they leave it to the team. You should never leave it to the team. You should. That's where I love Singapore Airlines. Basically, they have that review meeting religiously. You need to do that. If a campaign is running for SNL where I am spending 2 or 3 crores of rupees, I have a review meeting every 3rd day. Not with everybody. Only monthly once I have with my sales team. But I have with the sales head. 3rd day, every 3rd day they have to come to Jayanagar office or I go to their site. Because when you go to their site, the problem with most of the brand custodians are, they are all comfortable in their own space. No? They said, okay, I have done this, everything is there, you guys take care. No, it will not work. That's not micromanaging also. There is a difference between micromanagement and hands-on. I am a hands-on. The moment you become hands-on, the way the brand evolves is just too good. When I went to GBWA office in Abu Dhabi office, because we got a global account of Etihad, Ramzi just picked me up and then put it in Abu Dhabi. First day when I went to Abu Dhabi office, I said, from this office I'm going to function. It was a villa, God-forsaken place, and there is no shops nearby. If I want a bottle of water, nothing is there. And it's a huge villa. So I took over, and Ramzi told me, Ramzi calls me, Mal, what happened? Everything is okay. I said, no, not okay. So you have put in a place where I don't have anything. We had only 3 people. First thing I did is, I appointed a cook. And fill the refrigerator with whatever possible, and the cook has to cook for everybody, including me. So as a brand or as an office in charge, you need to take the call. And you need to take the call without fearing. That's what I said. Don't fear for anything. Maximum you will fail. It's okay. You will fail. It's okay. But don't blame it on others, saying that when you do a campaign, the whole team has to get involved. The whole team gets excited. If there is no excitement from them, there is no point in doing whatever you do. You can bring in Tota, you can bring in pregnant woman, but the team has to get excited first. Wow, this is the campaign which will work for me.
It's feeling that.
And review meetings, not time wasting meetings. Proper review meetings has to take place.
Any more questions? I think
Thank you very much. Thank you, Local. I really appreciate it. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
These two guys are just awesome. They came to my office, videographed, they did everything.